I'm burning. Yeah, yeah.
Coming up next on Mental Health Matters with Marty, June is still Men's Health Awareness Month. Join us as we have this amazing discussion from moving from trauma to triumph. Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Hey, it's your boy. I'm your host, Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist. And why do I say mental health hygienist? Because just like you wash your body every day, we need to wash and purify our minds on a daily basis. And I am here live and in living color all the way from Ontario, California, where the sun is always shining. Listen, I am so glad that you are joining me this week, and I am so excited about our topic for today, moving from trauma to triumph. I just want to put that triumph before anything because I'm just so energetic. There we go. Moving from trauma to triumph. Stop messing with me, Daryl. Helping men heal from various traumatic events in their life. But before we go into that, let me just remind you that Mental Health Matters with Marty show, this show is intended to be as an educational tool. It is a supplement to your mental health journey and never a substitute to what is going to happen. So if you're experiencing any type of medical or psychiatric emergency, please dial 911 or go to your nearest urgent care because we want you to be safe and sound. But with that being said, it is so good to see you. As always, we're definitely talking about this topic, but if you want to engage in any conversation today and be a part of the family, we want you to definitely check out our two sites that we want you to look at specifically, Mental Health Matters with Marty on Facebook, or please go to our new Marcel Media Group on YouTube. I'm gonna get it together, y'all. So engagement, if you want to engage with us, please engage via our Mental Health Matters with Marty on Facebook or on our Marcel Media Group in YouTube. So that's how we do that engagement. So if you have not switched over to those platforms, we definitely want you to. Why are we doing that? Because we want to definitely be a bigger and have a bigger footprint, digital footprint, especially on YouTube, and making sure that we're doing all of our consistency in one of two spots. Why is that important? Because we want to start tracking and making sure that when we're talking about the analytics and those type of things, that it is tracking properly so that we can definitely reach bigger platforms, because it's all about all of you and you help us grow. So please, please, please like and share this because we want to be engaged. We want to see where you're at. We want to hear from you. So please let us know you're listening. Let us know you're there. And let's talk about this from trauma to triumph. Do you know that Black men experience more trauma than any other culture or race? I was doing some reading today and just getting caught up. Still among Black men, Homicide is still the number one indicator of death in our young men between the ages, are you ready? 15 to 25. Homicide is the number one death effect of that. And we have seen it yet this week. I believe that was in the DMV area in the beach where we saw these young men who were brutally attacked for vaping on the beach. Yes, there were signs out there that said that you should not vape. But does because you were vaping, does it justify a police officer kneeing you again in the ribs repeatedly while others are watching? Does this continue to have to be our story? Too many of us are experiencing great deals of trauma. Too many of us are having vicarious trauma and emotional support trauma at watching this and just being experienced. I too have been pulled over on the side of the side of a busy street at 2, 3 in the morning because I was in the wrong neighborhood, and that has to change. Do we too yet not bleed red blood? Do we too not sing America? Do we too not have the same desire to have the same experiences that our white counterparts have? Too many of us are suffering in silence in the shadow of shame. As I say each week, it's time that we speak up. We have to speak out in order that we might be able to live. No longer are we going to be silent about this. No longer are we going to just go to our corners and not say anything. I think too many of us have that Coca-Cola syndrome that we are experiencing. What are you meaning, Marty? Because we've suppressed all of our trauma, because we've suppressed all of our emotions, because we've suppressed so much hurt and pain, we are too explosive. And not only does it have a psychological effect on us, it also has a physical effect on us today. And that's what we're here to talk about. The trauma that too many of us are experiencing and how it can and does have a detrimental effect on us physically and emotionally. So I'm so excited today to have with us this brother reached out to me. And I just fell in love with his story and how he has overcome so many insurmountable obstacles in his life. But he is here as a living witness that you can overcome trauma, that we as Black men, it is never too late to overcome obstacles, that we too can make a major change in our lives. But we have to be willing to do the work. We have to start loving ourselves, and we have to start supporting one another. So for the very first time, we want to welcome, but this will not be his last time. In fact, tonight is just part one of his story. And he's going to be joining us also on tomorrow evening with the doctors. Tonight, we're going to focus on the psychological trauma, and tomorrow we're going to focus on the physiological trauma that that he has experienced in his life. But can you please give a warm welcome to the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, Mr. Jeff Walker. Jeff, how are you, my brother?
I'm well. I'm well, Marty. How are you?
Good, man. I appreciate you coming on and doing the show with me tonight. But how you're in Michigan, so it's a little late for you there. But I appreciate you staying up late with me and everything, man.
Yeah.
Jeff, tell our audience who you are and why this passion that you have for helping men. Talk to me, Jeff.
Man, Marty. I'm Jeff Walker, and
Yes.
I'm from Muskegon, Michigan, a small city here, about 3 hours west of Detroit. And just to give you guys
Okay.
a geographical
Yes.
location. And
Okay.
I'm passionate. I'm passionate about this, man, because in 2019, July 23rd, 2019, I
Right.
suffered
Right.
hemiographic, stroke,
You all right?
and
Yeah.
so coming from that and coming out of that, um, coming from a place of not knowing whether I'm going to live or die,
Right.
and then
Right.
coming into uh, becoming a survivor. I knew that God left me here for a reason, and there
Oh,
was a
that's good,
purpose
Jeff.
for him allowing me to um, for him extending my life. So
Yes.
I I found that those who went through who experience trauma, there need to be some
Yes.
type of outlet for as
Yes.
far as us black men. We
Yes.
do not have the opportunity to uh, really express what
Talk,
we go
Jeff.
through, how we feel, um, and a lot of that is because of how we may have been reared, how we may have been raised
Yes.
to
Yes.
suppress our emotions and things of that nature.
Yes.
And when you suppress a lot of things, as you said, that Coca-Cola effect, it just
Hmm.
impedes, and one slightest thing will erupt the volcano, and
Yes.
and that's what happened to me. We suppress our stress, we suppress our
Yes.
anger, we suppress our
Yes.
fears for because
Yes.
we are afraid of what and how society will view us if
Mm.
we acknowledge our emotional side.
Yes, yes. Jeff, you said a whole lot. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, Nicole, good to see you. So glad that you're on here. God is so faithful. Grateful for these testimonies. Lord, guide and protect our black men. Thank you, Nicole. You're absolutely right. Jeff, you said a whole lot right there. Listen, people, get your brothers, your husbands, your uncles, your grandfather, get these men and we have a living testimony, a trauma survivor on the show with us tonight, and um, Jeff is a living testimony that if we don't change what we've been doing and how we've been doing it, and Jeff, can I dare to say this? Even how we perceive ourselves,
Exactly, exactly.
yeah,
Because
that it can
because
have a detrimental effect. Go ahead,
Yeah,
talk to
and
me,
I was
Jeff.
just gonna say, and I was just gonna say, because that has a significant um
Yeah,
sense of how we view ourselves, because we are
yes,
trying to live up to whatever perception that other people see us
yes,
as, and
yeah.
we are not true to be ourselves in whatever
Come
facet
on,
that may be. And again, that is oppression of self.
yeah,
And we have to come out of that. We have to break free from that,
yeah,
you know. And going through going through my health crisis allowed me to
uh-huh,
see that unforgiveness and
yes, Ooh.
unforgiveness, it was part of that, and the major part of that was not forgiving myself, and blaming
Mm.
myself for things, and
Yeah,
not taking accountability for myself, or or my part in things. So all of that culminates to, you know added pressure, added stress
yes,
that creates
yes,
trauma.
yes. Jeff, you're absolutely right. I love that. You talked about, let's back up. I know we're going to hit the stroke, but I want to talk about who you were prior to. Yes, yes, Jeff. Yes, the doctor said he literally blew a head gasket when he had his stroke from stress. Did you hear that? His story
Mm,
can definitely save others. Come on, come on. See, you
yeah,
you got some
that
some folk out here loving on you, brother.
that's
Yes.
that's my sister right there. That's my sister, my best friend. The way
Come on,
when I spoke
sister.
to you, and I told you that there were
Yes.
two people that saved my life, she's one of them.
Yes.
She got me to the
Uh,
hospital
God bless you.
uh
Yes.
in record time.
Yes, yes. Y'all, we're going to do a slight spoiler alert. You got to listen to the podcast. Jeff goes into much detail about that whole experience. But what I want to talk to you about, you talked about that there was and a lot of unforgiveness. There were some things. Let's talk about how you saw yourself pre-stroke, prior to the stroke. So who was Jeff prior to the stroke? What
uh
what did you not like about yourself and not able to forgive others for? Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead.
Pre-stroke, let's see. Jeff was Jeff was an individual who held grudges.
Mm.
Um, Jeff was an individual who was slow was slow to forgive, was able to come to
Mm.
a point of forgiveness, but it was at a snail's pace. Um,
Okay. Okay.
Jeff was the type of person who failed to see his part in whatever dynamic came out of a situation. Um,
Right. Right. Right.
so all of that, Jeff was an angry person.
Mm.
Jeff
What would
Jeff
you say was the
was
root of your anger, Jeff?
oh man, there was so much. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
just so much. I would say um, not being understood,
Okay.
not feeling as if I was uh, worthy, not feeling as if
Mm.
I was um, smart enough, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
handsome enough, or
Right.
not feeling as if I was a good husband when I was a husband, a good
Right. Right.
father. Um,
Right.
uh, all of those little minute dynamics that
Yeah.
people kind of look and make, like the saying, you make a mountain out of an anthill.
No.
Those were the
Yeah.
things that I
Yeah.
was doing. Those were the things I was doing. I was looking at the little things and
Yeah.
magnifying them,
Come on.
not looking at my shortcomings, not celebrating the Jeff that
Right.
was smart, that does have the intelligence, that does
Yes.
that was a good father, that did the best he could
Yes.
because he grew up without a father and made the
Yes.
decision not to have his sons grow up without a father. Um,
Right.
uh,
Oh, that's
to
good.
be
Oh,
to be a best friend, to be a good friend that would be supportive and have someone's back
yeah.
when I felt no one had my back. You know,
Yeah.
those were the things that kind of started to make the shift for me.
Yeah.
Even pre-stroke.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said a lot there, Jeff. And listen, audience, I don't want you to miss this. Too many of we as black men internalize all those things. We internalize, can I go here? Did my father leave me? So did he not love me? Why did he abandon me? All those sort of things. So I don't want to be like him. So you strive hard not to be like him. So in trying to be this perfect person is what
Hmm.
I'm hearing you.
Hmm.
I wasn't smart enough. In my mind, I didn't look good enough. In my mind,
Hmm.
I wasn't the best husband. In my mind, I wasn't the best father. In my mind, all this negativity that we think about ourselves, but never having other men, other brothers to go to be like, Jeff, dude, you doing all right. Jeff, I'm going through the same thing you're going through. Jeff, I
Hmm.
understand. Jeff, yeah, they were wrong because you were always there. And so all of these things now begin to build up the anger, sometimes our environments and everything. What's going on, Mr. Sharik? Come on. Thank you for being brave enough to share your testimony. We as black men are taught not to talk about our feelings or emotions. I'm glad we are breaking the cycle. Come on. That's the life coach himself. Yes, it is. Glad you're on here with us. Yes, yes. And,
Yeah.
and it's so important that we change the narrative of what we think and believe about ourselves with that. So,
Yes.
so Sharif, talk to us more. Now you're in you're starting to think negatively about yourself. Hey, Auntie. And now with that, how does that build up to when I know we're skipping a whole lot because I'm hearing so much, but now in July of 2019,
Yeah.
you have this major stroke.
Okay. So there's a backstory.
Okay, talk
And
to me.
very quickly, I won't spend too much time on it because um, I'm at a place of forgiveness in that part. But at
I hear you. I hear you.
once upon a time, not long ago, um, my my ex wife and I, we really had our relationship was very, very toxic, very
Hmm.
um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? It was hostile,
Okay.
and
Okay.
um, so to safely say there wasn't a lot of love lost between the two of us.
Sure.
So
Sure.
there was a situation to where there was a family gathering, and
Uh huh.
she popped up, and
Uh huh.
it really irritated my soul. I mean, I'm just saying, to be honest, it
Right.
really
Right.
irritated my soul, and it really messed me up the entire weekend of the family event.
Okay.
So fast forward, I'm with my god sister the following week, and my god sister said that I went on about a 20 to 30 minute rant about
Okay.
what happened.
Right.
That was 2 days before
Oh
my
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 goodness.
my my stroke. So that was
Okay.
on a Sunday, and then that Tuesday, my health crisis took place, and it was due to all of that pent up, that volcanic
Mm-hmm.
eruption,
Right.
that I wasn't able to let go. I wasn't able to let release,
My God.
from the feeling that I had toward my ex-wife at the time. Now I can honestly say now that I have none of those ill will, none of those ill feelings,
Right. Right.
or the hostility within me, because I had to learn to
Right.
forgive. When we talked about that forgiveness, I had to learn to
Yes.
forgive me in order to release myself from that. I had to release myself from that hostility. I had to release
Right.
myself from that anger, that bitterness, because she was sleeping well at night. She had no health
Right.
issues,
Right.
and all of that fell on me, and because I
Yeah.
held on to that, so
Oh,
I had
see,
to
that's
forgive
good. That's
myself
good.
and release myself from that,
Talk
so
to us,
that I
Jeff.
can be a better person,
Yes. Yes.
so that I can
Before we
grow.
bring on our, let's put up that last statement there that from our viewer here. Says too many men don't value their self-worth, holding on to trauma that affects every aspect of their life unintentionally. Jeff's come a long ways. He's awesome. I agree with you. Listen, that's Derica. Is that Derica Nichols Woods?
Yes,
Yes.
that's that's
Thank you.
that's 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 my other homie. That's the other person that saved my
Come,
life. That's my god sister right there.
y'all all right. Y'all all right. Yes, yes. I
they
love it.
they
That,
supporting me. They supporting me.
that's right. And that's what we need. We need a great support network that is so key and imperative to us making and getting forward. I want to bring on right now, and we're going to continue this conversation. He's been in the virtual green room listening into this amazing conversation. I want to bring on the family certified trauma coach himself, none other than Jason T. Mahoney, the motivator. What's up, Jason?
What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Are
Doing
you,
Have
are
you
well.
you-
been listening to Jeff's phenomenal story?
I haven't actually. As I was listening, the first thing I wanted to come
Yes.
out and say to Jeff is, "Man, I applaud you. You are a true representative of what it means
Yes.
to be vulnerable
Yes.
and what it means
Yes.
to say, you know what, I went through a situation, but look at me now." And so I appreciate that
Yes.
because you let other people know that if you put your hand and your mindset to it, you can do the same thing. So
Yes.
I applaud you,
That's right.
brother, and thank you for
That's
sharing your
right.
story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Isn't
Thank
it
Thank
you.
you.
powerful?
It's powerful. It's powerful.
Yes. Jason, you're a family certified trauma coach and
Yes.
trauma specialist, and I believe that Jeff has told us some classic
Hmm.
indicators of
Mm-hmm.
stress and trauma and how
Yes.
it comes to affect us. Talk to us some more about that. What as a trauma specialist and a trauma coach, the classic and key things that Jeff has been stating, and some of the things
Mm-hmm.
that you have noticed also in your coaching.
Gotcha. Absolutely. And the first thing is for individuals to understand the definition of trauma. A lot of people think that it's
Yes.
this huge definition, but really and truly, trauma is any deeply distressing or challenging situation that a person has
Yep.
endured that may alter their mindset, their
Yep.
physiology, all those things. And so, what I heard from Jeff, it's so classic among so many African
Yes.
American men that we go through
Yes.
things and then we bottle it up. And sadly, what we go through is traumatic, right? And then when we
Yes.
bottle it up, we then bottle up some other emotions, other thoughts, and other feelings that can cause more trauma that can spill into other
Yes.
people's lives. And so as Black men, we do that so many times. And but I applaud
Hmm.
Jeff because what he said is, I'm not going to be a statistic. I'm not going to be a statistic.
Right.
And
Right.
so when we think about that classic and that trauma as a whole, it is so prevalent in our community, from childhood all the way to adulthood. And
Yep.
so I do want people to understand one thing about trauma is that everybody's trauma is different. And
Yes.
what a person goes through, you cannot, and I hope everyone's listening, you cannot devalue what somebody else shares as their trauma because
That's right.
everybody has their own situations. And far too many times, Marty, as Black men, we're taught that, oh, get over it, you'll be okay. But you don't know
Right.
how that situation impacted that person. And far too many
Right.
times,
Exactly.
as Black men, we're taught, oh man, you went through that little situation, you okay, dust yourself off
Right.
and get up. But we don't deal with the emotions that went through
Yep.
that situation or what have you. And we
Right.
need to stop. We need to stop that. We really need to stop that. Toxic masculinity is one of the reasons as to why we're here
That's
as Black men doing that, and we just need to stop it. So that's my
yes.
stand. Yeah.
I love it. I love it because you said the very key toxic masculinity and toxic
Hmm.
definitions of masculinity. And anything that is toxic will
Hmm.
kill you
Hmm.
if it's not
Exactly.
not taken care of. Yeah. And when we
Exactly.
have these toxic mindsets, these
Hmm.
toxic stressors, and now we're in
Hmm.
a toxic environment, and I
Hmm.
think toxic negatively, and now I'm
Hmm.
getting negativity spewed right back at me.
Hmm.
The having a stroke is
Hmm.
almost inevitable if we're not
Exactly.
careful. A stroke,
Exactly.
a heart attack, leading to
Exactly.
hypertension. We'll get into all the physiological tomorrow, but yes, but it's so good.
Hmm.
Jeff, hearing that definition, and they say hindsight is always 2020.
Hmm.
Hmm.
What were some of the signs that you ignored that you were in
Mm.
a traumatic situation and environment?
Um, some of the signs that I ignored was headaches. I
Mm.
Mm,
dismiss headaches
Mm.
as oh, I'm just tired, or
right, right,
I'm
right,
doing too much. At the time, I was working two jobs, so I was
right.
just kind of spreading myself thin, um, and so some of the signs that I bypassed was the fluctuation in my weight,
Mm.
uh,
Mm,
the lack of sleep.
Mm.
okay,
Uh, um, yeah, I would say those were the major
okay.
contributors that I
Hmm.
recognize.
Yes,
Just headaches, um, fluctuation in weight, and
yes.
lack of and not sleeping,
Wow.
and also going through uh, uh, ups and downs
Hmm.
with my mood, with my mood, with it, which was the depression that I didn't
Hmm.
realize
Yes,
that, or
Right.
yes,
I didn't focus on, at
yes.
the time.
Right, right. Marty, may I say something in regards to that?
Yes.
And so, Jeff, as you were talking, a lot of those things, what you're saying, those are what you call some of those impacts of trauma, where you went through a
Yep.
traumatic situation, and then you have these
That's
kind of
good.
impacts. And if I can use the analogy of a car, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
get your car, it's brand new, you love your car, right? So then what
Mm-hmm.
happens is you're driving your car, you hit a pothole. That
Right.
pothole was a traumatic event, okay?
That's
And
good.
then what do? We keep driving. We keep driving.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then as you
Yeah.
continue to drive, then what happens is, let's say someone rams in the back of you and they just dent your car just a little bit, right? But what
Mm-hmm.
do? We keep driving. So
Keep
now
riding.
I have the pothole incident, which was traumatic. I have someone ram me in the back, which was traumatic. And then let's say,
I got a crack in my windshield.
right, a windshield crack. A rock comes and cracks my windshield,
Right.
and I
Right.
continue
Right.
to drive, and then the oil light cuts on, and then we'll say, I can drive maybe a couple more miles. And then what happens
Mm-hmm.
is we go through all these situations, and then now the car
Yes.
is
Yes.
no longer able to work, or is working, but it's working on conditions. And so
Mm-hmm.
if you
Yes.
take if we would have just fixed the car from the beginning and go each time a traumatic event happens, we address it. We should have gone to the detailers and the stations and all those things in that moment. Take that same analogy and apply it to ourselves as human beings. We're in a bad
Exactly.
relationship. Let's deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Go ahead, Marty.
But we have normalized trauma
Mhm.
so much in our communities that
Mhm.
that we know we've learned how to live with it, and in
Exactly.
fact we no longer know how to even identify what is
Mhm.
healthy and what is
Exactly.
normal. I like to say it
Mhm.
this way: we've accepted the culture
Mhm.
of chaos and
Mhm.
Yeah.
use that as being
Yes.
our normal life, and so we
Mhm.
then just say that's just part of being a man. That's
Mhm.
just
Mm-hmm.
part of the marriage. That's just part
Mhm.
of this job. That's just part
Mhm.
of this. Then till we just accept so much, till we
Exactly.
just crack. We
Exactly.
do.
Exactly.
We do.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So go ahead. I love this. Hey, Pamela, how are you? Oh Jesus, there's yes, there, but by for the grace of God. I know.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
so Jeff, let's continue with your story. So now on July 19th, 20 of July, was it night? July
23rd.
night. Okay, July
July
23rd.
2019.
Yes, of 2019. Lord have
Yeah.
mercy. Now you have, as a result of this trauma, this stress that has built in, that has now come to, I'll say it like this, come to head in the form of a
Mm-hmm.
stroke. Tell your
Mm-hmm.
story. What happens, Jeff? What happens then?
You would just the tell the
Go right
story of the
ahead. Tell
stroke.
whatever you want to tell.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All of that from that Sunday conversation with my god sister.
Right.
Again, just going through the motion, actually going through the motions, not knowing that I was going through the
Yes.
motions, and then
Right.
that
Right.
Tuesday morning, I wake up as normal
Right.
and getting myself ready for work, and all of a sudden there is I get this headache out of nowhere. It
Right.
just clapped, and uh,
Wow.
the doctors called it a thunderclap headache. Um,
Mm.
Mm, mm,
and
mm, mm.
and so I go about my morning routine, and
Normalizing the
I
trauma.
Right.
Normalizing it.
Mm-hmm.
normalizing it.
Yeah.
Oh, that I even convinced myself that it was something else. I was like, oh, this must be a
Mm.
migraine.
Oh,
This must be a
Jesus.
migraine. So I'm
Right.
gonna
Right.
I'm gonna
Right.
go ahead and go through what I go through.
Mm-hmm.
It just got to the point where it got so bad that I was like, well, let me lay down for a minute,
Uh
and
huh.
sleep it off. Let me just sleep it off, really quick.
Right. Right.
And
Right. Right.
as I stated, I just kept hearing, and I say it was nothing but the voice of God. Get up, keep moving. Get
Yeah.
up, keep moving.
Keep
Get
Mm.
up, keep
keep
moving.
moving.
And so I went about my day. That morning, went to the office, and supervisor came in, and I'm thinking I'm talking normal. I had a phone conference.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
And from that point, she said something wasn't right. Long story short, I call my sister Kaya, and she comes. They get me, and because another thing what that I have to preface it. We as black men, we have this pride that we don't want to go to the doctor, and I refuse.
Talk to
I
us.
refuse. I refused the EMT being called several times from what I was told, and so
Wow.
then
Wow.
we call Kaya, and Kaya comes and she
Normalizing the
rushes me to the
trauma.
hospital, normalizing the
Wow.
trauma. And she
Wow.
comes in and she rushes me to the hospital, and I get there and they perform all of their
My God.
triage
My
and all of
God.
that stuff, and they say that my blood pressure was the highest that they have ever seen on record, which was
Wow.
about
Wow.
I think it was 287 over 180 something or 70 something. So yeah, I really shouldn't be talking with you guys right
Woo!
now.
Woo! Come
Wow.
on.
I
Wow.
really shouldn't.
Wow. Wow.
That's being stubborn and
We're stubborn
prideful.
and
Oh,
prideful.
the truth is coming. But
Th-
that's we as black men. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm just they keep me on my. They gonna tell me, and they gonna say it on this show. They gonna call me out on how I
Oh,
relished in
she
my
gave it
stupidity. Two
280
eighty
over
over one
176.
seventy six.
Wow.
That
You
was the
should have been
highest
dead,
on record.
but you see,
Wow.
you're
Yeah,
here. You're here.
God has a
Right.
purpose.
Mike, yes.
Absolutely.
See, that's what. Go ahead, Jason,
Absolutely.
because I'm
Yeah, I was
about to
gonna say.
shout.
Well, when
Don't
I
push
saw the
me.
when I saw the numbers that she just posted
Yes.
up there, it's like wow. Going back to that car analogy, right? It's at that situation where the car is now
Yes.
in critical condition,
Yes.
and that's what happens when we don't address that trauma. We find ourselves in that
Yes.
critical condition. But I'm gonna say to God be the glory for the great things that He's
Yes.
done
He
in
has
your life,
done.
and Jeff, and now you're here to let people know that trauma is real. And if
Yes,
we
it
don't
is.
address it, this is what can happen. And so you're here, your life lets people know that it's
Yes.
important when that check engine
Yes.
light cuts on in our own lives. We need to
Mhm.
address it. We don't need to just sit there and lay it aside. And as men, specifically as black men, it's okay to ask for
Right.
help. It's
Come
okay.
on.
We have
Come
to
on.
take that old mentality and throw it in the trash because it's garbage. It is garbage
Yeah,
of
Hmm.
what we have been taught about not addressing our emotion, thoughts, and feelings, because that's why we're either killing ourselves
Yep.
or the conditions of the trauma that we've gone through, high blood pressure, all of these things. That's so we're either killing ourselves or the conditions are killing us because we make the decision not to address it
Hmm.
because society that we
Yep.
grew up in poured that junk into us. But we have to throw that junk away. And to any man that is listening, that feels that he doesn't
Yes.
have a voice or that he doesn't have a soft place to land, you can contact anybody on this phone call and we
That's
can get
right.
you
exactly.
That's
connected
right.
to the
That's
resource
right.
in your community.
That's
There
right.
is hope, but you have to be willing to get out there and
That's
do it.
right.
You don't have to live and suffer in those situations. You just don't.
You
Come on.
you you
We
don't
don't
you
have to
don't
continue to
suffer.
secretly
Yeah,
suffer.
we
That's right.
don't.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jeff.
No,
we do not.
suffering in silence is we have to normalize not
Mhm.
suffering in silence anymore.
Right.
We
That's
have to
right.
normalize letting men be men and letting men show their emotions and have those emotions and not demasculating them or us for having those emotions. And I think if we can get to that point, I think we'll be headed in the right direction.
Wow.
Yes. Let's deal with this question right here. And I love this. Is how does an individual or consumer begin to enter into a few steps forward to break decades of trauma? Also, how do we effectively articulate that to family, friends, and most importantly, to those who are called to provide professional guidance and assistance in that area. In my opinion, there aren't that many minority, diverse, and all inclusive available psychosocial therapists to guide a consumer into a better way of living. Jonathan, thank you so much for your comment, and that's why I created this platform. That's why I have my brother here, Jason T. Mahoney, out there. There's a wonderful resource called Therapy for Black Men that is definitely guided specifically to us. I work with a whole network of Black male therapists. I work with another network of Black therapists, Rock. Now, I'm not going to lie, we know just like you take time to find the right primary care, you got to take time to find the right psychological and your team of network as well. I agree with you, Jonathan. There is so many. As a Black male therapist, Jason and I, and Black male coaches and trauma specialists, we represent 1% of this whole field called mental health therapy. So we cry loud and hard. You'll hear my saying say we have to speak up, speak out in order that we might be able to live. So Jonathan, Mr. Jonathan Davis, please feel free to reach out to me. Listen, I will definitely try to point you in the right direction and get you the proper therapist. But you're right, we can no longer stay silent. Questions like this, I can already tell you're a professional brother, and we got to help support our professional brothers out there. Jason, you were going to say, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say something in regard. If you, Darryl, you can put his comment back up. I do want to say something in regards to his statement about how do we effectively articulate that to our family, friends, and importance to those who call. So I just want to tap on the family and friends thing for a moment. It is really important for us to understand that our family and our friends are not therapists, counselors, social workers, those things.
Right.
That they are family and friends. That's who they are and what they are, family and friends. And we must be mindful that our family and friends sometimes may not understand what we're going through. And then also, if your family or your friends had the same upbringing that you did, they may be also in some traumatic situations as well and not addressing their trauma. And then what happens is that you're breeding what you call pity parties. And I don't believe in those. But it's important for you, if you do want to talk to your family and friends, be mindful that they understand. Don't go to them for therapy, their family and friends. It's not fair to your family and friends to put that weight on them, right? But I encourage family and friends to be soft places for you to land. And that's what we need to do as family and friends for other people, is we need to create an atmosphere for people to come to talk to us. And I'm going to say this. You cannot be my family or my friend if I can't come to you and talk to you about an issue I'm having and it's not a soft place. That just means you are a part of the atmosphere I'm in. Because if you're going to be a family or a friend to someone, you have to be that person that's non-judgmental, creates an atmosphere where that person can come talk to you. So I do want to say, Mr. Jonathan, to your question, family and friends are important. But we must be mindful that they're not our therapists, they're not our counselors, they're not our social workers. That's what they are, family and friends. But family and friends, we got to create an atmosphere where people can come to us and talk. Far too many times I heard people say to their family members, why didn't you ever come and tell me what was going on? And then a family member will say, you never create an atmosphere for me to come and talk to you. And so we got to create the atmosphere for our families and friends to come talk to us.
And that's why we create these safe spaces. That's why, Jeff, as you're seeing, why your story is so important, so that we have more Jonathan Davises that will come out and say, listen, I agree with you, but we got to create this. You don't have to be, quote unquote, a professional. You just have to have passion. You got to have a heart. You got to, I don't have all the answers. and I don't profess to know all the answers, but I will give you a safe space. I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you, listen,
Mm-hmm.
bro, let's go grab some coffee. You know,
Right.
bro,
Mm-hmm.
let's go get some wings. Let's do
Mm-hmm.
something. Let's
Yeah.
walk around the track or something. But
Mm-hmm.
we got to create these safe spaces. I am feeling a wake up call. Come on, you're absolutely right, Pam. And I am going to throw a challenge out there. I am
Mm-hmm.
going to challenge. Listen, oh man, listen, Jonathan, hit us up, brother. We don't want you
Mm-hmm.
to feel like you're alone. I got some great brothers. I don't know where you're at, where you live at, or anything. But listen, we'll get you. I got some brother in Michigan, black male therapist that I'm in connection with. So there's definitely some people out there, and we are all, if we bring this united voice, and I think
Mm-hmm.
because everything that's going on in our nation now, we as black men not only feel like targets, but we feel like
Yes.
there's almost like a hit out on us,
Yeah.
to try and destroy our lives. We've always had to be strong. And sometimes, can I just be honest? Sometimes I don't want to always have to be always strong and always feel like
Mm-hmm.
every time I go somewhere, I got to fight my way to. I want to go to a place where I can say, hey, Jeff, man, today was a rough day. Jason, I just need to be around my bros, or I say, hey, you're not in this alone. And I can say, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, I got so pissed off today. I wanted just to go 8, but I knew the responsibility I had. And my wife is
Mm-hmm.
driving me crazy. My kids are crying. I ain't got enough money to seem like to pay this
Mm-hmm.
tuition because I'm trying to do my best. The job is not
Hmm.
treating me right. What do? I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm about to explode.
Mm-hmm.
But we
Yeah.
have brothers around to say, brother, I feel you. You can make
Mm-hmm.
it. You're going through
Mm-hmm.
this. You're doing an amazing job. Go ahead, Jason.
So as you were talking, Marty, I hope that the listeners were listening to the words that you were using, and that's something
Mm,
that we have to do. We have to change our language. We have to be mindful
uh-huh.
of what we're saying. And I was talking to a young person not too long ago, and what happened was they were going through some things, right? And I said,
Right.
"Why didn't you talk to your parents about this?" And the young person said, "Because I heard my mom and dad talk about somebody else who was going through the same thing I was going through, and
Right.
I felt that I could not talk to my parents about the situation." So I
Wow.
say, we have to be mindful of the things that we say.
Yes.
And if you think about it, you talked about a brother that's going through, think about this. He gets up in the morning and he may have to
Right.
go to a job that does not respect him because of the color of his skin. Okay.
Right.
And then he have to maneuver through a society that he may be afraid that, will I make it back home because of police
Right.
brutality? And then now
Right.
everywhere he's go, he has this target on his back, right? And so then when he comes home, if he comes home to an unsafe environment or where he's not being
Right.
respected, so and then he doesn't have a social network to call out. So what happens to this black man? What happens to this
Mm-hmm.
black man
Mm-hmm.
who has all the precious on him and does not have that safe place? So we must be mindful of our dialogue and
Yes.
things that we say around our children, around our
Yes.
friends. But what you said, Marlo, is really key is be that person where your brother can reach out and talk to you. Be that
Yes.
person where you're using the right language, because you never know
Yes.
what somebody is going through, and what you
Exactly.
say can either be life or death for that person.
Or
And I
death.
encourage everybody, start speaking life into people. Let them know that you're that
Exactly.
safe place, because guess what? My mama used to say, one day your day is going to come.
It's gonna
Who's going to
come.
be there for you? So one day your day
Exactly.
is going to come. Who's going to be there for you when your day comes? So we must be mindful about that.
And
Love that.
and
Jeff,
and
go
that and,
ahead.
no, and I was just gonna say, when you say, we have to be there for one another, that's one of the things
Yeah.
that, another one of the things that I feel that my purpose is, and why God extended my life, is so that I can bring together a platform for men to
Yes.
have that safe space. Um,
Yes.
and in addition to what I've gone through my health crisis, and now dealing with
Right.
some childhood trauma based upon the resurgence of those memories from
Wow.
my health trauma. um, Men of Recovery Evolving is something that I
Talk
founded
to us.
so that I can provide that platform that
Mm-hmm.
a safe space and to provide resources
Yes.
for us men who are going through trauma, whatever
Yes.
trauma it may be. Um, I've had a, and I stated this to you before, Marty. I was like, I can be the
Right.
poster person for trauma because I think I've been through several different types throughout my life, and you
Right.
know whether that trauma is relationship trauma, where you are in a toxic
Right.
relationship, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what to do or how
Right.
to deal with that.
Right.
Um, whether you are your trauma is substance abuse and drugs, whether
Mm-hmm.
your trauma is childhood physical, emotional,
Mm-hmm.
sexual
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
abuse, whether you have your health crises, stroke, heart attack, all of those things. I want to be able to provide a safe space and a platform for us men to again normalize expressing our emotions and how we feel. Even like you said, Mark, if I had a bad day and with the pressures of the
Right.
world, we see from Breonna Taylor to George Floyd, we
Mm-hmm.
all have PTSD from watching that.
Yes.
We all have
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
PTSD from watching
Yes.
those young men get beat down for smoking vapes on a beach.
Wow.
You know, so those are all those things, and
Yes.
regardless of if we experience the same thing, our
Yes.
trauma, how we deal with that trauma, and how that trauma um, um, display itself is going to be
Right.
different for each person.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be,
Mm-hmm.
as you
Right.
said, Jason, we have to be mindful of how
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
we approach that person, how we connect with that person, how we speak and speak of that person. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and for
Mm-hmm.
me, I had to. I've heard people say certain things about people who, and then this is just for transparency for me.
You're fine.
I'm
Uh-huh.
I'm a two-time suicide attempt survivor, and I've heard people,
My
you know,
God.
say, yeah, and I've heard people say, "Well, I love myself too much to take my life," but you don't. But your life and my life are different. You
Right.
didn't go through what I went through,
Right.
and you know,
Woo.
so I shy away from people who make statements like that because they don't understand.
Absolutely.
They don't
Absolutely.
understand. And so I know that I can't go to this person if they have a statement or even if they make it in jest. You know, you just let me know that you're not a support for me. And if I go to
Absolutely.
Right.
you and try, and if I go to you and try to express myself, you're just going to aid to my trauma.
Yes.
Can, can,
I
can,
know. I know. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
so okay, so
Woo.
Jeff, you hit the nail on the head.
Yes, he
We
did.
we
Yes, he
must
did.
be mindful that we can kill people with the words that we
Right.
say. And we have to
Yes.
stop that old saying, sticks and stones. We used to teach the kids this: sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt. I'll say this right here: sticks and stones may break your bones, but you can put a cast on. But words, they are
Hmm.
They
ingrained,
last
because if you
forever.
think about exactly, so if you think about what you just said, whereas you were in a situation, two-time suicide survivor, and then you hear
Right.
someone talk about they love themselves, what have you. To me, Jeff, you love yourself. You love yourself,
That's right.
and they love themselves as well. But the difference is they don't know how to articulate it from the right perspective, and so it's
Right.
so important that we are mindful of what we say. We need to just shut up. I'm gonna be honest, just shut up. If you don't have
Hmm.
anything appropriate to say to help
Positive.
somebody, you need to just shut up and sit down and be
Hmm.
quiet. But you know what I've
Hmm.
learned about all this situation, when we're around people and they say ignorant stuff like that, that lets me know that they have some
They
trauma
don't
that
love
they haven't,
themselves.
that they
Yep.
have,
Yep.
right,
Yep. Come on.
that they haven't dealt with. And people get mad
They
at me
haven't.
because
Hmm.
I can be in an atmosphere with people, and we'll have a great conversation, and when they spit out that foolishness, I'll
Right.
say,
That's what it
hey,
is.
I'll say, have talk to me about some things you're going through, because you're not gonna
Right.
kill somebody at this table,
Right.
because we don't know who else is at this table and what somebody else needs. So I refuse to be a part of assassination of someone else that's at the table, because we
That's
don't
good.
know. Think about it. If we're four is at the table, we don't know what all of us are going through, and I
Exactly.
cannot allow Marty to say
Mm-hmm.
something that's going to kill
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, because I can't
Mm-hmm.
have that person's blood splattered on the table where we trying to eat in fellowship. So we have
Ooh,
to stop
Right.
that. We have to
that's
we have to
right.
change the atmosphere and shift the atmosphere. We have the power and authority to do that.
Yes.
If we
Yes.
call ourselves men, if we call ourselves
That's
the
now
head of
that's a true
households and all
definition
those
of a
things,
man.
right? If we say that that's who we are, then we have to be the ones to stand up to make sure that nobody else is being murdered or being assassinated by somebody else's words at the talk. We stop
Right.
the negative, stop the
Right.
negative talk. It's
That's
horrible
we have to stop the stinking thinking and
thinking.
stop the
Exactly.
negativity with that.
Mhm.
Y'all, listen. Ooh, yeah, Jeff, you done got us all roused up. Listen, you
I'm
gotta join us tomorrow night. This is just part one. Part one, because Jeff's story is too powerful. You've heard about the toxicity of male masculinity that he had growing up. You heard about his insecurities and the negative thinking that he was having about himself. You heard about the stroke that he had. You heard about him even saying, even prior to that, that the
Mhm.
attempts of suicide that was there. Jeff, you have purpose, and we are so glad that you are here
Yes.
tonight. This is just part one,
yeah.
y'all. And listen, we're gonna wrap this up. Listen, join us tomorrow night. You cannot miss part two of this. Jason, how do we get a hold of you? And thank you for being on my show tonight again, brother. I miss you like crazy, man. How you feeling? How do we
Doing
get a
good,
hold of
doing
you?
good, doing good. You can actually visit my website at www.jtmahoney.com, or you can actually just Google me, Jason T. Mahoney, and I'll be able to pop up. I would love to hear from you. And like I said, we're here to support one another. Let's make some things happen to really heal ourselves so we can heal the world.
That's right. Thank you, Jason. Jeff, listen, man, if no one else tells you, you are a beautiful black man that has such power, purpose, and a future ahead of you. How do these listeners who are following you and here today, how do we subscribe and follow you to encourage you and just to even share your story with other men in our lives?
On Instagram, I am sincere_solutions, and on Facebook, Ladon Ladon Latin Cochran, and then I also have a Sincere Solutions business page on Facebook as well.
Wonderful. Man, we cannot thank you enough for your story. This is just part one tonight, y'all, that we're sharing. Tomorrow night, we're going to come back with part two. You cannot and don't want to miss part two. As Jeff was sharing with us tonight, everything that was going on, we want you to know that trauma is real. Too many of us are suffering in silence in the shadow of shame, not paying attention to signs that we are hurting, not paying attention to headaches, not paying attention to our heart beating too fast, not paying attention that we're irritable, not paying attention to that we aren't getting enough sleep, not paying attention that we might be sleeping too much. These are all signs that something could be going on that's serious, that we're sweeping the trauma underneath the carpet. To find out more about this and many other things that we want you to do, please check out my website at mentalhealthmarty.com. There we have lots of merchandise to support you in this journey of your mental health journey. Also, tomorrow we are dropping the if episode that we did that Jeff and I did to hear more in depth about his story and even hear about the two who kept him and took him to the hospital to make sure. I mean, he said that was his sister and his good friend there. And please check it out. If you are a Apple listener, please give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review. But again, that's Mental Health Matters with Marty podcast on any of your favorite pod streaming devices and pod streaming platforms. And become an iMatter member by texting iMatter to 855 717. See, you took it away from me too fast. 855-717-1272. And also, I want to announce, as we've been talking about, June is Men's Health Awareness Month. I'm so proud and excited to announce my Young Men's Mentor Group that is starting this Friday. Young Men Support Mentor Group that's starting this Friday. That is for those young men in their 20s. We are doing this, if you're in Southern California, we are doing this live and in person starting this coming Friday, and it's going to be a monthly group. Please check out and go to my website to register. I'm limiting it to 20 people, 20 young men. So please, the spots are going fast, and this is going to be how we look at changing the lives of our young men. Because as Jason and Jeff has stated to us, trauma is real. Again, we are so glad that you chose to join us tonight on Mental Health Matters with Marty. Again, we're going to be doing part 2 of this tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., where we're going to be joined with the medical doctors, Dr. Allen, Dr. McKinney, and Dr. Horn, as they're going to now talk about the physiological effects of trauma and the strokes and different signs and symptoms to watch. This is a very, very imperative that we know that. We don't want you to continue to secretly suffer in the shadow of shame. But again, we want you to speak up. We want you to speak out. We want you to live. But more importantly than that, we want you to enjoy your life. We'll see you tomorrow night. God bless.
Enjoy your life.